here with Agnes Chan. Agnes, it is a great pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Now, first of all, can you tell us about growing up in Hong Kong and the start of your career there?
Well, I was born in Hong Kong, and I had 3 brothers, 2 sisters. And when I was around 14 years old, and I was singing in some charity concerts in my school, and a producer came and said, "Do you want to sing professionally?" And I was very flattered, and I said, "Sure." And that's how it all started.
Oh. And what brought you to Japan?
Well, after several years in Hong Kong, I was very lucky. My career was pretty successful, and I had my own programs, and I appeared in movies and stuff. And a producer and a songwriter from Japan came over to Hong Kong, and he just found me, just like that. And then he came back and he talked with the record company, and they came over to Hong Kong and then said, "When your contracts are finished, please come to Japan and sing for us." And I was very flattered, and I said, "Sure." And that's how it all started.
And at that time, you did not know Japanese, is that right?
No, not a single word.
So how did you learn Japanese after that?
Well, actually I came over, and then I started from the ride back from the airport. I was in the taxi, and the record company manager told me that you must learn this phrase. As long as you learn this phrase, you will not die. That's exactly the words he said. And the first phrase that I learned in Japanese was, "Watashi onaka ga sukimashita," which is "I'm hungry."
Yes. Very useful.
Yes, and that's how I started. And after I went to entered university, Jochi University, Sophia University, I learned Japanese in the school.
I see. So you began really from the day-to-day kind of things rather than first learning the Japanese songs.
Well, when I received the songs, I didn't know a word of Japanese, so it's all Romaji, and they have the meaning written down underneath the Romaji. That's how I learned the songs. And after I came to Japan, I had this little notebook that I keep to myself. When somebody said something, I write it down, and I asked, "What does that mean?" And then sometimes I would try it out when I'm in the same situation, and that's how I learned. It took me about a year before I sort of understand what people are talking.
Was that very overwhelming as a professional singer in a completely different language environment?
It was, because it's so difficult to get feedbacks. Like after you sing one take and you want to know if you've done a good job, but everybody's discussing in Japanese. So you felt that, there must be something wrong with me if they're talking for so long, but you don't know the content. And when the interpreter tells me about what they thought, it was like 2 words, so 3 words. And they have been talking for about 30 minutes. I want to know about the other 25 minutes, It was very difficult. It gave me a lot of stress, not understanding the language. But it also gave me the initiative to really learn hard, so I can understand what everybody's talking about. I felt very lonely in the beginning, though.
Yes. In addition to being a terrific singer, you've also written some of your songs. Can you tell me about the songwriting process?
Well, I don't write a lot of songs. The only time when I write songs is when I really have something that I want to express, and I cannot express and I cannot explain it well enough so that somebody can write it for me. And then I have to do it myself. So, for example, some of the songs that I've written are after I went to Africa, I came back, and I just have to express myself some way. So I wrote a song. And for example, I went to Cambodia and I saw the boat people, and I had to express myself some way, and so I wrote a song. It's usually when I have some experience that I cannot express myself in words, I try to write a song.
I see. Now, what about the difference between singing in English, Chinese, and Japanese? Do you feel different, or does the rhythm affect the way you sing?
It's very different, actually. Well, since Cantonese is my mother tongue, I like to sing in Cantonese. It's like the meaning comes through most transparently, like it comes straight forward to my heart. And I like English because it's a very beautiful language when it's being used on melodies, and it rhymes, and it sounds very good, and it's nice with a good beat, and also very nice with the ballads. Japanese is a very difficult language to sing, I think, and it's the most challenging one for me. But I like to sing in all three languages. But if I can choose, one language, maybe I'll choose Cantonese because, I just feel so at home with the language.
Says on conformity in Japanese education, and recalls being asked by her Stanford professor what she had to offer the school, a refreshing approach for her. In cross-cultural communication, she emphasizes the importance of wanting to understand and be understood, and says she overcame her fear of sickness and death through singing with children in Ethiopia. Activities this year include events in Hong Kong as it reverts to Chinese possession, and a CD to commemorate her 25th year in
今年の
Japan.
仕事には中国返還時の香港でのイベントや来日25周年の CD 録音などがあります。
In the middle of your amazing career, what made you decide to go to Stanford?
Well, first of all, because Stanford is like a dream, I've always wanted to go abroad to America to study, and well, during my undergraduate years I was in Canada, and I've always wanted to go either to Stanford or Harvard, and when the chance came and I got accepted to their doctorate degree program, I was really overwhelmed. I really wanted to go, but I was pregnant, and I have this whole career here laid out, so it took a bit to arrange and to tell people and persuade them to support me. But they were very understanding, including my husband. So I got my way and I went to Stanford.
You've lived and studied in Hong Kong, Japan, Canada, the US. Educationally and in your personal life, was there anything that surprised you in these experiences?
Well, Hong Kong was a very small place, and we have only one English university, and everybody wants to get into that Hong Kong university. I remember when I tried to enter Stanford, my professor asked me, why do you want to come to Stanford? What do you have to offer? I was so used to saying that, asking the school, what are you offering me, I thought schools are supposed to be there and teach me stuff. But she asked me, what do you have to offer? Why should we take you in? It was a complete different angle. I said, can I answer you tomorrow? I went back to the hotel and thought for a whole night, and then I wrote her a letter. And yes, I think that's a very, very new way of approach to education. You enter school, of course you receive an education, but at the same time you're in the process of adding to the knowledge of mankind. And because you entered the school, you make a difference. That was very refreshing. I like that.
You are a teacher of cross-cultural communication, and in your own life you're a living example of that. What do you think is the key ingredient in effective communication between different cultures?
I think a lot of people said it's understanding and mutual respect. And I also think a lot of goodwill is important too. It's like you do believe that, people are nice. And you do believe that I can be nice to people. I want to know them. I want them to know me. I think this kind of feelings are very important. And of course you have to try to understand people, stand in their shoes, and try to respect them, no matter how different they are from you. But basically is this feeling of you want it to be understood, and you want to understand, and you want to like this person, and you believe that this person wants to know you and like you. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but I think this is one of the most important ingredients to keep you going on and to keep your curiosity and your goodwill, coming out from you.
That's a very interesting point. And can you share some of your experiences as a volunteer in Africa and Cambodia, as you mentioned?
Well, I started to, in Hong Kong we say charity work and voluntary work, and when I was about 12 years old. And in the beginning it was like visiting orphanages and hospitals. But when I became a grown-up, I started what they called like international activities. And the first country that I visited was Africa. It was at the time when Ethiopia was the focus, and people were talking about the starvation and the civil war, and I still remember very, very vividly the scenes that appeared before me when I reached Ethiopia. Starving children, bodies of animals and people, and large camps with a lot of sick people. And it taught me a very, very important lesson, because the first day when I reached there, I was so afraid. It's like these people, some of the refugees would come running to you, and the army would use these whips to get them away. And when the first time when we stopped the car, everybody rushed to the car and start, pushing on the car and asking for help. And the army said, we just can't open the windows, we can't go down, and you just have to go on. So we start the car again, and when I look at the windows, the outside, the glass, is full of blood and mud and dirt and everything because of the infection of the people. And I was really afraid. So the first time when I get down from the car and the children were running towards me and some of my workers, we started running away. We were so afraid. And then the children just stopped and looked at us. Well, at that moment I really hated myself. I mean, why did you come to this country if you're so afraid and if you can't even hold or kiss the children? I mean, this is why you came, And after I reached the camp, I made a song. I used the London Bridge is falling down. I used that melody and I put some of the words, African words in there. And it's like, how are you? I'm your friend. And then I sang that song to the children, and they start dancing for me. Well, at that time I was so moved, because these children, they're so skinny. Like the thighs would be like 3 or 4 of my fingers, They start dancing and they want to welcome me and show me that, I want to be a friend. And I just thought, oh, what the heck, if I die here, if I got sick here, that's, my destiny. That was really the first time that I really opened my heart and I said, oh, I don't care. Even if I die with children, it's worth it. And I hold them, I kiss them, and we really became friends. It taught me a really big lesson. It's like, finally I got free of all my fears. It's like afraid to get sick, afraid to die, And it's because of the loveliness of the children, They taught me what life really is. And I'll never forget that experience. And from that time on, I just think it's the most natural thing to help people. It's the most natural thing to share what you have with other people. And so after that, I went to a lot of countries like Cambodia, Vietnam, Nepal, Philippines, Thai, Indonesia, China.
I see. And what's the next plan in your life?
Well, I'm pretty busy at this stage because I have a young baby, and it's about 3.5 months old. And also because this year is 1997, and there's lots of events leading up to the changing of flags of Hong Kong from the British to China. And I would probably be joining many of the events. And because this is my 25th anniversary in Japan as a singer, so we're planning to put out a CD too, so with some of my Chinese songs. That's exciting for me because I've never sang in Chinese in Japan. And also I'm writing a lot of books, and one of them is already published. It's about bullying in Japan, and that's what I want to take a stand as a person this year, to talk about bullying in other countries and how what kind of remedies can be made, and that's about it. And I'll continue my usual work like TV, radio, and talks, giving talks and teaching in universities and doing concerts. That's basically what I'll do this year.
A lot of stuff. Well, Agnes, I look forward to reading your book on bullying. And thank you very much for talking with me today.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Agnes notes that in cross-cultural communication, it is important to try to stand in the shoes of the other person. Shoes are often used in English to indicate a place, function, or viewpoint. So to stand in a person's shoes means to understand their situation. To not only stand in, but to fill a person's shoes means to take on their responsibility. On the other hand, if the shoe is on the other foot, the situation has changed completely, usually for the worse.
这里的旧巢依然在，有一